So I thought I'll give you a bit of my background so you understand where I come from. I was born in India and I lived in India up to 9 years ago when I moved to England. And I think I'm an Anglo-Indian, so I don't know if you've heard of Anglo-Indians, but you know that the British were in India for quite like 200 years, part of the colonization and the East India Company and stuff like that. So a lot of them not married, but had relations with Indian women, as you can imagine, soldiers being away from their families and stuff like that. So, and there was a lot of trade happening, like Portuguese, and then there was a bit of the French and all that. So there were a lot of like mixed cultures there in certain ports, and they had children and children. So I'm like the third or fourth generation from that Anglo-Indian line. So that's why my name Penelope is not a common Indian name. It's an Anglo-Indian name. Okay. So, but being an Anglo-Indian in India is also a challenge because you're not completely accepted by the Indian people, because you're kind of representative of a time when the true Indian, the culture was not, so it was quite controlled and not completely accepted. So they don't completely accept you. So that was a bit of a challenge. I always had the sense of not belonging in India because of that, and which is quite strange because when I moved here, because of my skin color, my hair, and everything else, I was thought of as an Indian or Pakistani or something like that. So when I was there, I was not accepted for being completely Indian. And over here, I was completely had the opposite effect. I must say, when I moved here and I saw that women had big sized feet, I was so happy. I was so happy to see a size 7 or 8, because in India they're all like they're quite petite and quite small, and I had like, I've got a bit of like mix of Dutch blood and stuff like that. So the body shape is like a sturdy European type of. That's how a frame I've got. So yeah, so self-image became quite a challenge then. And then I did my nursing. So I worked as a nurse for about 5 years at the start of my career, because that was the only education we could afford as after school. And I think the thing I learned from there was that when we were scrubbed up, only your skills mattered, and it didn't matter about who you were and where you came from. As long as you were efficient, I think the consultant surgeon was happy, would ask for me, because I became quite like efficient in orthopedic surgery. So they would ask me to be there to assist in the surgeries. And I think around that time, I kind of realized, yeah, if I worked hard and if I had enough knowledge, then people are going to like respect me. I think that was my first experience of that. I left my nursing because in India, the nurses are very paid quite low, which is why you find a lot of the nursing, they move to foreign, like to England or Canada or Australia and stuff like that, because the pay is better here. But in India itself, it's not recognized as a profession that's well paid. And my mom was kind of becoming a bit dependent on me emotionally. So I decided to leave that and find a job that I could pay and look after my mom a bit. And so that's when the call centers were booming in India. So I'm from Bangalore, where the call centers was massive. And because English was, the Anglo-Indians, they all speak English. They don't speak the native, the local language. You learn it, but you don't speak it at home. So because my English was good, and because I had could articulate clearly, I was able to join the call centers, and I became because all our bosses were either in the UK or in America. It was quite good because then they found it easy to speak to me. Plus my name was familiar to them. So they kind of spoke to me. That gave me more confidence, because then I was able to like really look at what my career was being. And of course, I had all the usual issues that a woman goes through around that time, trying to find someone who'd love you, get into all the wrong relationships, making silly choices based on your emotions, based on your childhood, etc. Going through all that. So, but my career was the only stability that I had. And I liked that, because that was the only thing I could control. Absolutely, it was within my power, because I realized that as long as I educated myself, I had power in that, in being an expert on a subject. So I was quite attracted to quality and quality systems and all that stuff. And I found, because I worked in IT outsourcing, women were anyway less, weren't equally represented in that industry. So as a woman, I was able to be amongst the guys and like be more accepted there, because they didn't look at my gender, they didn't look at where I came from. It was just my expertise that I brought to the table. So then when I moved here with my family, I worked with ADT Fire and Security, the alarm company, and I helped set up their quality team for their contact center and manage their complaints. And I worked there about 4 or 5 years. And then I moved to Lancashire and worked with Lancashire Women's Centres, which was quite good, because I felt like all my technical expertise, which came with systems and data, and that's where I'm quite passionate about those areas, was something that this women's charity, which was quite a small charity, lacked that expertise. So I felt like, yes, I could help women by bringing my expertise. So I didn't do frontline work, but I could help the organization get strong in its systems and its processes and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's where my interest in women, I mean, all throughout my life, I think I've been interested in helping women, because when I look back on nurturing people, I kind of see there's a thread throughout my life. And then I was quite surprised when I met other Asian women, South Asian women that lived here, because then I found out that women were, some of them were being still brought from the villages of Pakistan or India and being married into marrying men, British-born Asians. And we're still facing all that discrimination of trying to prove themselves. And I think over time I realized like that people, that women anywhere in the world have the same needs. They still want that family, that love, that recognition, that they need confidence building. It's all that. It doesn't matter where you're from or who you are, because I think intrinsically we have that basic need that every woman looks for. I am fired up by is I think I want to reduce the journey for women. So like I'm 45 and it's taken me 45 years through all self-realizing and evolution and whatever, I've reached to this point. And I feel like with this experience that I've had, I know it's possible that like if you always have that choice within you, so but it's meeting the right person or reading the right thing or having that right stimulus, which is why I chose Stimulus as my company name. But it can come in any form. And when you get that gives you hope, that gives you courage. And I want to be able to offer that to other women, because I think it can help reduce that journey, not because I want to change their journey or control their journey, but just to reduce it so that then they have choices sooner. They realize they have choices sooner in life and that they can actually live a fulfilling life, whatever that might look like. But, because otherwise we spend, even younger women, there's so much of like confusion about identity and being born in, like I think, Sharon, we were talking about it last time, where you said, they're born here, but they're like second or third generation Asian. They're exposed to the Western culture, as what is regarded as the Western culture, the English culture, in schools, in with their colleagues, but at home they still have this traditional outlook, and that conflict about their identity. I can see that comes up. I've started working with a couple of young women, and a lot of it is about that. Who am I? What am I here for? And in addition to all that, they still have all the other issues that anyone goes through. What's my purpose? How do I get? Where's my career going? All those usual issues that we have as human beings. But then they have this conflict about who am I? What am I? Why am I? So that's what's driving me. I'm really passionate about, because when I look at a woman, I can see the potential just by talking to her. And it's not that I don't think men don't have needs, Matthew. It's just that women have been suppressed for centuries, right from way back when, and they're still fighting. And it's a shame that some of the conversations we're having are still conversations that were had like 20, 30 years ago, or even before that. And why is it not changing? That's my, like, why is it not changing? So we have to like really take a firm stance about, right, we need to accept that we can't change the world, but we can change our world, in our decision making, calling out things that we don't think is right, or questioning things, or that's where. And then if all of us do that, as it'll all add up as a collective, and then it makes that difference, hopefully, for the future generations. And I think there's that negative connotation with the word challenge, isn't it? So when someone says, oh, I choose to challenge, or she's going to start a fight, but it's not that. It challenges to just question your way of thinking or the status quo, and you're just saying, okay, you've always assumed that the woman's going to do the cooking, for example, just taking it as a light example, but actually questioning that. So does a woman have to always cook? And just putting that back as a question, a stereotype, isn't it? So and I think that and the way to be able to do that is, whenever you're doing something or making a decision in your workplace or in your community, is to think, am I subconsciously feeding this stereotype? Because it's all so ingrained in us. It's taking that time and stepping back and considering what you're doing before you actually do it, so that because that's how we can become more conscious of our actions, isn't it?
No, I think that's been perfect. That's been absolutely fantastic conversation, and I absolutely so proud to know you, Penelope, and have the pleasure of working with you and studying with you as well on the course that we've been doing together. And it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for doing this today for us.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I think I am not yet that used to sharing or being like the focus. That's part of my work as well. And so having this opportunity to be able to share my experience and my motivation, thank you for that.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. Really, really do appreciate it. Very interesting as well. I've learned a lot.
Definitely